What's up, everybody, and welcome on back to the episode of the My Side of Things podcast. This is now episode 19. I'm your host, as always, Ash. We got a whole lot of things in the docket to get to today, including talking about some WWE rumored to be bringing back the Brand vs. Brand Survivor Series. We also got to talk about the biggest fumbles between WWE and AEW. We also got to talk about ESPN's prediction of John Cena's final run, and oh, baby, is that thing interesting. We also got to talk about the reason why Backlash is being mid. A few NXT Call-Ups are supposedly going to be coming up to the main roster very soon, and a whole bunch of other things as well. We are going to start things off, though, with a bit of a AEW Dynamite recap because, man, this is a really good episode. Also, if things look a little different because I'm using my phone camera because my camera has basically gone to dirt and I haven't been able to have a chance to actually go out and get a new camera. I plan on getting one very soon, unless this one just actually looks really dang good, and I'm going to keep using this one because I'm not going to go pay $400 or $500 for a new camera when I have a phone right here that was a little bit too much money and I still can't use it as a dang jetpack yet. But the biggest thing I really want to talk about from tonight's Dynamite was the steel cage match being set up between Samoa Joe and one Jon Moxley. I'm assuming that this is going to be leading to either A, new addition to the Death Riders group, or B, whoops, I moved the heck out of my damn camera, or B, it's going to be a return of one Pac. Now, I'm assuming that we're going to be getting a new member to the Death Riders, somebody that we did not think before was going to be the guy, because if they are going with the Aces and Eights storyline, if you remember, I want to say it was Bubba Ray versus Hulk Hogan, but it could have been versus somebody, it actually could have been versus Mr. Kennedy. I forgot who he was versing, but he faced somebody in the steel cage, and then they ended up flipping and obviously revealing that Bubba Ray was the one that was the head of the Aces and Eights, not the Death Riders. So I'm wondering if this head of the Death Riders could get revealed in the steel cage match. Is it potentially going to be Samoa Joe that's actually the head of the Death Riders? What would happen with the Trios Championship? Would he drop the Trios Championship? Would that mean that it would be Katsuyori Shibata, Powerhouse Hobbs, and maybe Hook? Would they be relinquished because of the fact that obviously one of the members doesn't have the belts anymore? I don't really know. I could see this happening, though, because it is pretty interesting that Samoa Joe came back just kind of out of nowhere and really wanted to take a Hook under his wing and then started pairing up with Katsuyori Shibata, even though there wasn't much of a connection there with the one Hook and Shibata. It was really just Samoa Joe being the middleman here and bringing together these guys. And then out of nowhere, he got Powerhouse Hobbs as well, even though we hadn't actually seen these guys together. We knew that Powerhouse Hobbs had an issue with the Death Riders. We just didn't know how, well, we knew how big of an issue it was. We didn't know that there was a connection there with him and Samoa Joe. So I'm wondering, could we potentially get some Aces and Eights things going on here? Could it be maybe not Samoa Joe, but somebody else that we thought was a good guy? Because we have the likes of Kenny Omega involved in this. We have Swerve Strickland involved in this. I guess if you want to add Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey because they did face the Young Bucks tonight, but I'm probably not going to add them to this, even though you kind of could if you really wanted to. But there aren't a lot of names there other than just the ones I named, because you also have Hangman, you also have Kenny Omega, and you have just a whole bunch of other people that's like, they're somewhat involved in the storyline. Could it be any one of them, or is it going to be Samoa Joe? If I had to place my bets on anybody, I'm going to say that Samoa Joe is actually a part of the Death Riders, and he might be the head of the Death Riders. Why would he do it, though? Maybe it's just because Samoa Joe values a lot of the same things that one Jon Moxley does value in a company. Because remember, if you look back to the group he went after in TNA, he went after Main Event Mafia because they were everything that TNA didn't stand for. When he eventually did go after the Aces and Eights, it was because of everything that they stood for was not what aligned with TNA. Well, Jon Moxley kind of does align with AEW. He wants the best for AEW. He wants to get out the jealous, greedy guys and, you know, the guys that are willing to risk their body and give it their all. He wants to keep them around. And I'm going to be real with you. If Samoa Joe is the leader, that's going to make things very, very interesting, because then this whole who dethrones the king of the Death Riders, who takes the AEW World Championship from them. Now it's like, well, it's not going to be Darby anymore because Darby isn't connected to Samoa Joe. It would also explain a lot as to why Jon Moxley hasn't revealed the AEW World Championship other than in what he said about, how he is the AEW World Championship because he embodies what a champion is. It would explain a lot of that, and that he felt that maybe, the belt wasn't for him. That's why he wasn't, holding it, and he maybe relinquishes it to Samoa Joe, and then Samoa Joe does become the next champion. There is always the possibility that Hangman could get the win at one AEW All In if he does, defeat Will Ospreay, because he did defeat Kenny Omega tonight, which means we are going to be getting Will versus Hangman. Not Kenny Omega, defeated Kyle Fletcher. Goodness gracious, there we go again. My love for Kenny Omega. But no, he defeated Kyle Fletcher. We're going to be getting Kyle Fletcher. Oh my gosh. Here goes my love for the flamboyant Randy Orton, Kyle Fletcher. We're going to be getting Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay with Kenny Omega and Kyle Fletcher on commentary, so Ash can have a great night. Hey, yo. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Someone who may not have a great night though is Mercedes Moné, because she just ran away from little old Jamie Hayter after Toni Storm won against, I don't want to butcher her name, Mayu Yamashita. I don't think it's Yamashita, I think it's Yamashita. I could be butchering that completely. My bad if I am. Mayu, I hope it is Mayu and not Miyu. I'm trying to remember the name. I just can't remember the name that well. But she did defeat her, though, and then here comes Mercedes Moné to come out, and, she did her whole little announcing some kind of place, Norfolk. I'm not going to lie to you, man. It's getting so over with me. I really love this, call to the crowd. Paul Heyman, even though I don't like the person, I don't like him as a person, did say this is a great thing that a lot of the great wrestlers have some kind of way to bring the crowd into the promo and not have them feel like they're, just watching a promo. Instead, they're actually a part of it. And she does a really good job of that, in my opinion. But she came out, though, and she's calling out Toni Storm and saying that, she wants that gold, that she came here for all the gold. Then you had Jamie Hayter coming out. Mercedes Moné is like, wait, hold on. You ain't going to hit me? Then ducks right underneath her. I'm telling y'all, man, she does not care about them other belts. I really think if Mercedes Moné does beat Jamie Hayter at Double or Nothing, if she does go on to beat Toni Storm, that what I said is going to come true about Mercedes Moné, that she's just going to drop all the other belts, because why keep them? She clearly does not care about them, in my opinion. She just views them as, just accessories in a sense. And it's just like, I think she's going to be dropping these belts. Also, I really love this character, man. She's doing, oh my gosh, she's doing such an amazing job with this heel character. But we finally do have our Owen Hart Cup tournament finalist. And I mean, you can go really any way with this. I think a lot of it does, for the men's side of things, predicate on who is the guy that is the real champion. Is it Jon Moxley still? Is it actually going to be Samoa Joe? Is it somebody else that's possibly, the leader of this group, or maybe even like another addition to this group? Maybe they don't go so aces and eights with it, and instead of revealing like a new leader, they just reveal a new member instead. Maybe it is one Powerhouse Hobbs. Maybe Jon Moxley was able to get to him. It could be a Katsuyori Shibata, I wouldn't be too surprised. Maybe it's Hook. Maybe Taz as well. I mean, if they really want to go full aces and eights with this, man, they could add Taz and Hook to the group. I mean, well, I guess Taz to the group and then Hook to the group as well. Y'all know what I meant by that. They could add them to the group. It would be kind of shocking in a sense to see a Hook with the group, just because it feels like Hook is more Team AEW, but maybe that's just what they really need to get even more hate to them. And by adding Taz, it allows Taz to kind of do what he was doing with Aces and Eights back in the day, where he's that commentary person and really just hyping up the group the entire time and hyping up all the members of the group like he did the entire time with Aces and Eights. So it does predicate off of who the heck is the actual leader. Let's just say that it's Jon Moxley. I think Hangman Adam Page is going to be the one to be facing him at All In. I don't think it's going to be Will Ospreay. No, you know what? I do think it's actually going to be Will Ospreay. I think Hangman Adam Page is going to get attacked by MJF, because Bobby Lashley did tell MJF that we hurt people. If you want in, you got to prove that you can hurt people. And MJF does need to continue this storyline with Hangman Adam Page. I think this would be a great way to continue this storyline with him. There's a lot of weeks, though, in between now and Double or Nothing, so I wonder how is that exactly going to go. Like, are you going to have him just, attack him at, like, Spring Breakthrough? Or are you going to have him attack before, not Spring Breakthrough, what is that dang new special coming up soon? I forgot the name of the special, but the special coming up in like 2 weeks where Jon Moxley faces Samoa Joe in a steel cage. I could see him attacking maybe next week, and then going into that special, we see not Jon Moxley, we see MJF versus Hangman Adam Page. Maybe Hangman goes into the Will Ospreay match a bit hobbled, and then Will Ospreay does go over. I could also see a world where Hangman Adam Page does go over because they want to just really, really, really hammer it home for the baby faces. But I think this would also be a great way to kind of show a different, or show that old side of Will Ospreay, that killer side, that willing to do whatever it takes kind of side from Will Ospreay, that maybe this side could get him over a Jon Moxley, or maybe it's this side that cost him against one Jon Moxley. So I'm really excited to see what does happen going forward the next few weeks of AEW heading into Double or Nothing, because it's going to be a very, very dang good show, man. We got some awesome matches lined up, and I'm really ready for this blood and guts match they're going to be having, because, oh, baby, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good, man. The teams are already looking amazing. The 8-man tag match tonight was just elite. I love the hell out of it from start to finish. I love the moments with Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada. That's just, it's definitely hyping me up for Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega at All In. I thought we were going to get it before that. Thought it was going to be a Double or Nothing, but I'm not mad at the fact that they're kind of stretching it out a bit, because this is a very big match, and it does need the biggest of stages to have this fifth and potentially final match. We're also looking like we're going to be hyping up Young Bucks versus Jet Speed, which is Kevin Knight and Speedball and Mike Bailey's new tag team name, I guess. They actually are a tag team now. Great way to probably use them for a while, because you do need more tag teams for the Hurt Syndicate to be able to face off against. Maybe these guys do dethrone the Hurt Syndicate. Maybe you start, kind of swapping those belts a lot this year instead of just having it be on like one team for like 300-400 days. I like long reigns, but I don't need long reigns for every single thing. So I think Speedball and them could get the belt. And obviously, you're not going to use Speedball, Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight the way you use Private Party. You're actually going to give them a competent run. It is going to be interesting to see what happens with FTR, because obviously they're going to get back into that business somehow of being the tag team champions. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with that. I think maybe Speedball and Kevin Knight, I was about to call him the Jets, Kevin Knight could dethrone Hurt Syndicate, and then maybe we get FTR to be able to dethrone them afterwards. Maybe we get a third member of FTR, but it looks like they're really pushing this tag team, so probably won't have that. Probably just have to be managed by Stokely, and then, we get FTR to eventually dethrone Speedball, Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight. I don't know, because this Hurt Syndicate storyline has to go on pretty long, right? I mean, maybe you can have them drop the belts within like a few months. I don't know, because like when you did the Bloodline storyline in WWE, obviously AEW didn't do this, but the Usos held the belts for like, I think almost a year and a half, 2 years. It was the unified belts at that. Oh, well, no, I think they had the SmackDown belts first, and then they got the Raw belts, and that was like a total of like 600 days, but it was really like split up. I think it was like 300 for each. Could have been actually even more for the SmackDown ones and then less for the Raw ones. I don't remember exactly the numbers, but I'm thinking maybe Hurt Syndicate hold them until, let's say, maybe All In. Maybe the theme of All In could be, starting off with like a bunch of like happy moments. So the ones that are supposed to win, like a Jamie Hayter defeats Mercedes Moné, and then we have Jamie Hayter go over Toni Storm. We have Jet Speed go over Hurt Syndicate, and then the end of the night, the main event, if it is Hangman versus Jon Moxley, or even if it is Will versus Jon Moxley, that theme would be, but we're going to rip your hearts out at the end. So we had a feel-good story to start it off, but sorry, man, we couldn't have it be too happy-go-lucky here, because this is AEW after all. And, just like the Hurt Syndicate, we like to hurt people. But I am super excited for a lot of things just going forward with AEW. It's looking like a lot of great build-ups. I wish they would still find a way to do a brand split of some kind of sorts, but they have been handling the storylines so far so good. They're not rushing them too much. They're doing great things with Toni Storm right now, just having her be in a bunch of eliminator matches to keep her fresh, to show off new talent. Looks like AEW might be getting a Mayu. I think she has a match this Saturday. I forgot who it's against, though. I forgot who it's against, but she's going to be having another great match this Saturday. It looks like AEW is probably also going to be signing Thekla, so maybe she comes in and has a great match against Toni Storm. Maybe she even has a great feud with Toni Storm before the eventual Toni versus Mercedes or Toni versus Jamie. You could even have that feud going into going into Double or Nothing. with Tony and Thekla, where Tony does go over Thekla, and then, you know, we have Tony Storm eventually getting dethroned by Jamie Hayter, and then Thekla comes back trying to get the belt. It's looking interesting now, because if they get her, buddy, this woman is literally Lady Kenny Omega. I'm going to be real with you, man. I've seen enough for her to say that, yeah, no, this is woman Kenny Omega, and you're going to have to put a belt on her sooner or later. Maybe you have Mercedes go up against Thekla instead of Athena. Maybe you have Mercedes not get it thrown by Athena. Maybe you have Thekla to throw up. Maybe you have Thekla to throw Athena so that she can get the Ring of Honor Women's Championship, and then you have Athena to throw Mercedes, and then you eventually have Thekla drop that belt to. Let's see, if Megan Bayne doesn't get the AEW Women's World Championship, maybe we could have Thekla get that belt after Jamie Hayter. Maybe we can have Thekla only hold the Ring of Honor Women's Championship for not that long. Also, if I'm butchering her name, my bad. I'm assuming that's the way you pronounce it. That's the way I kind of heard it pronounced, but I could be completely wrong on that. My bad. Other than that, though, it was just like, just a pretty great night overall. I think I basically went through everything that happened this night. The Yamashita versus Tony Storm match was just an absolutely awesome match. I really do hope AEW gets her. She's so dang good as well. She reminds me of like a female Daniel Bryan, like mixed with AJ Styles a bit. A lot more of the I don't want to say high flying, but a lot more of the speed of AJ Styles and a lot of the striking ability of Bryan Danielson, not Daniel Bryan, my bad. Of the Bryan Danielson. I really do like her. She's really, really dang good. But speaking of something that's really, really dang good, WWE is rumored via Fightful, Cultaholic, and every other dang reporting site to be getting back to brand versus brand and allowing NXT to have War Games back. This is absolutely amazing. When NXT did War Games, it wasn't always at a specific place, and I just remembered that today. So I hate the fact that when I said the whole Mustafa could be the one leading Dark State, and then when would you do that? Because it'd be like 7-8 months till War Games. I completely forgot that they did that any NXT TakeOver. I don't know how they would do that now because they don't do TakeOver anymore, which I really hate, by the way. I wish they would have kept TakeOver. All these like themes like Heat Wave and Battleground and like Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver I don't mind, but like the TakeOvers were so fun, man. I love that era of NXT. Like it really, really did hold things down for WWE. That was in not the greatest of days, I'm going to be real with you, man. But it is rumored, though, that they will be getting it back. So it's great. We can have NXT versus TNA War Games. We can have Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series. We could even, in the future, have a TNA kind of like invasion and try to take over WWE. Then we get TNA versus WWE. I mean, TNA versus Raw versus SmackDown. Like how we had with NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. We can get NXT trying to take over like NXT Mutiny did. We get NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. Or we can even get like a team NXT versus a team WWE, like how 2K25 did that storyline. I think it's actually a really cool one to have some like NXT alumni versus the WWE faithful. Like that's really cool to me. I'm glad they're bringing it back too, because War Games has basically just been more or less a shit show. The fact that we never got I think this is actually one of my fumbles. I'll go ahead and say that for the fumbles, but there's a few War Games matches that we did not get that just make me so dang sick, to be honest. Like, I cannot believe we didn't get some of these. The women's ones, they've always just felt kind of rushed, in my opinion, and the bad teams always lost. It was always Damage Control that lost every single time. It made no sense to me. And then just this past year, we had the heels lose once again, even though you had two women's champions on their dang side. It's so stupid, in my opinion. I can't believe it went that way. It's always been the heels that lose for the women, and I think the faces have always won besides Roman Reigns' year when he did the War Games. Yeah, because Cody Rhodes won. Did he go back to back? Yeah, he did, right? No, wait, Judgment Day and Bloodline this year, and I guess the quote-unquote good guys won this year. I don't know. I don't really know if you want to call them the good guys. I'm rocking with Mr. Solo Sikoa. I love you, Solo. So yeah, I think War Games just kind of been more or less so forced. It's had a lot of, like this year, it also had like a lot of storylines that were just rushed as well. Like the Bloodline whole Reformation storyline got rushed. The women's stuff was really rushed. Last year, it was kind of also rushed. You had the women just thrown together last year. Women were definitely just thrown together this year that have been feuding the entire year. It ain't nobody say sorry to each other at all. So I am glad they're bringing it back. I think it made for a lot funner competition. I think it was also a great way to show off NXT in a way that, like, if you had like a superstar coming up that you really did want to show off, it allowed them to be shown off on a much bigger stage. And also, if we would have gotten War Games instead of War Games, we would have got Survivor Series since 2020, because 2020 was the year that we did not do Survivor Series brand versus brand. I'm gonna read off everything we could have gotten, because I actually have a list. I made a whole TikTok video on this, and I'm gonna start with 2020, and I'll go to 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Had we gotten, Survivor, had we gotten brand versus brand instead of the War Games matches. I will say this though, 2021 and 2022, there wouldn't be any women's tag teams because of the fact that there just, wasn't really much of anything. 2021 does have a women's tag team, but that's about it. So for the tag team department, that just literally wouldn't be a thing. And I want to say it was the top men's champion in 2022 also wouldn't be a thing because of the fact that Roman Reigns held both belts. I kind of wish he didn't. Wish, maybe Bobby Lashley had held the championship instead, but whatever. Didn't really need Braun Breaker holding it. But all right, so for 2020, this would have been the just the champions, not anything else. So the champions would have been, for the top male champion, it would have been Drew McIntyre, who was the WWE champion, versus Roman Reigns, the Universal champion, versus Finn Balor, the NXT champion. Buddy, do you understand how elite of a match that would have been? Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre was already great as is. Then we would have got Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor. Are you serious? Yes, sign me up. On the women's side of things, we would have had Asuka versus Sasha Banks versus Io Sky. Buddy, we would have been eating good in 2020. This would have been the greatest freaking Survivor Series ever. In the mid-card, we would have had Sami Zayn versus Bobby Lashley versus, I think his name is Leon Ruff. I actually forgot his name. I only wrote down his last name. But I don't know who Leon Ruff is. He kind of got the title by accident. And by accident, I mean, he's kind of like snuck a win. But, he looked pretty dang cool, so would have been a great match regardless. Sami Zayn and Ruff are actually really great sellers. Bobby Lashley would have looked amazing in this match, and then we would have had, the underdog story with Sami Zayn trying to... No, actually, it would have been conspiracy theorist Sami Zayn around this time, so it would have just been really funny shenanigans going on with him. For the tag team side of thing, if I got it correctly, we wouldn't have had, a women's mid-card until 2024. No, we wouldn't have had a women's mid-card at all because we didn't get the women's belts, but... I'll just throw together one for that year because technically speaking, we kind of did. But yeah, we'll get there when we get there. For the tag teams for 2020, it would have been New Day versus Street Profits versus Breezango. This match actually would have cooked, man. This match actually would have cooked. I really did like Breezango. I thought that they had a lot of flair to them. They had a lot of the, what the Iconics did for the women's tag team division, I feel like Breezango could have done for the men's tag team division had they actually been used a lot more. They were a very fun tag team, and I feel like this is the time where WWE started kind of falling off the whole fun department, which really sucks because I actually missed the funny stuff. And in New Day versus Street Profits, we know exactly how that would have been. It would have cooked. It would have just absolutely cooked. Now for 2021, we would have had Tommaso Ciampa versus Roman Reigns versus Big E for the top male champion spot. Roman Reigns versus Big E was already a great match. I didn't like the Tommaso Ciampa, and this is NXT Tommaso Ciampa that was actually used. Yeah, this would have been a awesome match in my opinion. For the women's side of things, we would have got Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus Mandy Rose. I think this would have put Mandy Rose on a much higher pedestal that would have allowed people to really, look at her as a superstar. And Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, they just always put on phenomenal matches. The Four Horsewomen, that's what they do, okay? That's just what they do. For the mid-card side of things, we would have had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Damian Priest versus Carmelo Hayes. This is a Carmelo Hayes that looked much better on NXT than he did in the main roster. He was absolutely phenomenal down there, looked like a star. Shinsuke versus Damian just would have been some hard-hitting action. I think Carmelo Hayes would have been selling the hell out of a lot of moves. Oh my gosh, a Kinshasa. Ooh, that would have looked so beautiful. And then obviously, like I said, 2021, we wouldn't have had a men's tag team match, but we would have had a women's tag team match of Dakota Kai, Dakota Kai and Raquel versus Rhea Ripley and versus Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH and Natalya and Tamina. I also have my tiny little AEW microphone from now on. So there we go. Thank you, Kenny Omega. In 2022, like I said, we wouldn't have got a top men's champion because of the fact that Roman was holding both belts. Does suck. So we might not have gotten this year, but we still would have had some pretty good matches regardless. In 2022, we would have had Bianca Belair versus Ronda Rousey versus Mandy Rose. Then on the men's and mid-card side of things, we would have had Gunther versus Logan Paul versus Dominic. Oh, no, my bad. We had Gunther versus Seth Rollins versus Wes Lee. Oh my God. God, grab the lotion, please. Oh, baby, this match. Oh my God. Yo, we were robbed of a generational match. A generational match. Gunther versus Seth Rollins versus Cardiac Kid Wesley. Oh, baby, yes. Oh, my God. Oh, man. And then in 2023, we would have had no tag teams. Kabuki Warriors were the only ones. It would have been like Kabuki Warriors versus like the... Oh, no. Actually, they were the only ones because the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions had... No, wait. Did they drop around this time? No. It would have been Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, Toxic Attraction. Yeah, 2023, they unified the belts. My bad on that. And then 2023, for the men's side of things, we were... I'm going to be real with y'all. 2023 might actually be the best year of all of these. We would have had Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus Ilya Dragunov. Again, grab the lotion. Grab the baby oil. I see why Diddy has so many bottles. He was thinking of this match right here. My goodness. Well, but it gets even better, baby, because we would have had Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. The mid-card kind of ruins things here, though, but let's just fantasize about this match real quickly, man, because Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair was already a top-tier match. Becky Lynch is just as amazing of a wrestler as Bianca Belair. This match would have been beautiful. We would have had, for the mid-card, though, Gunther versus Logan versus Dominic Mysterio. Don't really care for this match, to be honest. Gunther and Dom would have been great. I just don't want to see Logan Paul in this ring because it would have been absolutely atrocious, in my opinion. Now, for 2024, this is where I'm going to have to throw together a women's mid-card match, but I think this would have been pretty dang good regardless. But for the top spot, though, we would have had Gunther versus Cody Rhodes versus Trick Williams. Now, hear me out. Oba and Javon were able to make Trick look a lot better than he could. I think Cody Rhodes and Gunther would have done the exact same thing for Trick Williams, man. This match would have actually been a classic match. Then, on the women's side of things, we would have had Nia Jax versus Roxanne Perez versus Liv Morgan. I don't really know who you root for here because everybody here is basically a heel, but I think Roxanne Perez would have become the most over babyface just because of this one dang match. Would have been absolutely amazing as well. On the men's mid-card side of things, we would have had Braun Breaker versus LA Knight versus Tony D'Angelo. Yeah, this match, we can go ahead and go to the bathroom. I'm going to be real with you, man. Although Braun Breaker and Tony D'Angelo going spear for spear is going to be absolutely amazing. Tony D got one of the best spears and spine busters in the game, and no one really wants to talk about it. For the women's mid-card side of things, we didn't get the women's IC title until 2025, and the women's United States Championship wasn't until the end of 2024. But I'm going to go ahead and just say that they were around 2024 because they should have been. We would have had Lyra Valkyria versus Fallon Henley versus Chelsea Green. Not the greatest match in the world by any means. I would have preferred this was Kalani Jordan in the spot instead of Fallon Henley, or even maybe not even Chelsea Green, like a Zelina Vega would have been a lot better for this match, but I think this would have been just an interesting match regardless. For the tag team match, oh baby. Judgment Day, Finn Balor and JD McDonough versus Motor City Machine Gun versus Fraxium. Just throw the damn ladders in this match, Betty. Oh my God. This match would have just been the most beautifully scripted match of all dang time. 2024 might have actually gave 2023 a run for his money, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, if that woman's mid-card scene was a little better with the, who had the titles, like if it was Zelina and Kalani, oh, baby, the match would have just absolutely been amazing. Would have been top tier. Like, we were robbed of some just amazing Survivor Series matches that I hope, if we do get this, Survivor Series brand versus brand back again, we better be getting the elite matches that we all deserve, because I'm going to be hurt if we don't. Just like I am hurt by these fumbles, man. Oh my goodness. So the reason why this topic actually became a topic, because I wasn't even going to talk about it, was I seen a bunch of people making videos about like the biggest fumbles by AEW, and it's always the same exact thing. It's Penta, it's Ricky Saints, it's the Lucha Bros in general, it's CM Punk, it's Malachi Black, and Miro, and just all these other folk that nobody really even understand that they weren't a fumble in AEW to begin with. They all did pretty dang good. The only one that I would easily say was a fumble was Ethan Page, because of the fact that he had a lot of star power. He was kind of putting a lot. Well, let me take that back. He didn't have a lot of star power. He had a lot of potential star power. His toy vlogs were doing really good on YouTube. I think he had a lot of charisma to him, and the fact that they really just didn't use him never really made much sense to me. But they did try nonetheless, and he didn't show this level of mic work ability. Maybe had he been on his own, it would have been better. Who knows? But if I'm going to go with the biggest fumbles, I'm going to start with AEW's first. Now, here's a few honorable mentions. Number one is AEW Dark. I don't know how the heck you get rid of a developmental brand. I understand that, you eventually introduced, I think Collision was the one that was introduced because it was Dynamite and Rampage, and I think it was Collision afterwards. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Collision. So it's like, I understand, that you added in a new show. Maybe you don't need Dark. You want to use Rampage as more as that, elemental brand, as more of that developmental brand, not elemental. Not the elemental heroes over here. I summoned elemental hero Flame Wingman. Wait, hold on. I forgot the whole dang summoning thing. Whatever, man. Oh, no, my tiny mic. I forgot the whole dang thing. But yeah, you had this like a developmental brand that I feel like a lot of your wrestlers right now could definitely benefited from being on. I know they're trying to turn Ring of Honor to that, so I'm not completely mad, but I would have kept AEW Dark. It was just pretty dang cool. And you had a bunch of unsigned wrestlers come through too, so like, come on, man, you should have kept it. Then we have the Elite storyline from last year. It was a shit show. I'm gonna be real with you. That storyline is arguably just one of the worst storylines by AEW. 2024 was just a really odd year because it's like WWE 2019 where it's like there are great things here, like Swerve Strickland winning the championship, Tony Storm and Mariah May. You had Will Ospreay doing just amazing things. We had Swerve Strickland versus Christian, Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson, Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. I think we had Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, but that might have been actually 2023. I could be completely wrong with that. But we had like a lot of just amazing Elite matches. And then here comes the old Elites. This old bum storyline, man. I don't even want to stay on the storyline too long because it's going to make me mad about how they really carried the storyline out for as long as they did. But you had to like go watch stuff that wasn't even on AEW. It was like the Elites YouTube channel and all this other stuff just to actually get the whole gist of the storylines, a bunch of political backstage stuff that wasn't even really that good to begin with. You had the Young Bucks becoming heels again. You had Hangman and Page's confusing character. Okada wasn't really there as much, and Jack Perry just never really fit the group in my opinion. So yeah, no, the Elite storyline was just bad. But the one that hurts me the most, the biggest fumble by AEW, that if you ever want to look towards AEW and say this is why I don't watch it, I would understand you completely. Adam Cole and MJF being fumbled. This storyline could have been the greatest storyline ever told in AEW. It could have went down as the 1-1A with Tony Storm and Mariah May. The fact that you did everything right to Worlds in 2023, you did everything absolutely perfect. The storyline was top tier from beginning to end. You even put faith in Adam Cole that he was not going to get injured, and while he did eventually get injured, it was still able to play into the storyline. And then you just said, okay, so Adam Cole's going to be injured for the rest of 2020, for a good part of 2024, so we'll bring him back, and we're going to turn him face, and we're going to turn MJF back into a heel, even though Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era attacked MJF and, betrayed him and all that stuff, and MJF was an absolutely over babyface, and Adam Cole could have been a heel even if the crowd was behind him because of the fact that he was a heel in NXT, and it still worked. You said, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do what should happen, which is MJF staying face and Adam Cole being a heel. No, we're just going to turn MJF back into a heel because he makes for a great heel. It was stupid. It made no sense at all. You didn't need to turn this guy back into a heel. He easily could have been a babyface right now. I understand that you do need more heels. He's not the one that you needed. I think MJF would be so much better in that face role right now. I would love to see him actually working with this whole AEW storyline. Oh my gosh. Imagine if we actually do get Samoa Joe as the guy who's the head of the Death Riders. You could have had MJF right there. He's a face. My bad. If he was a face, he could have been the guy to get his AEW World Championship back from Samoa Joe because Samoa Joe was the one that basically took the World Championship from him. Oh, man, that actually hurts me so much. Oh, it makes the storyline so much worse, man. This is like literally one of the best storylines of all time. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, man. Like, I'm not even trying to like over exaggerate it either. Go and just watch the entire documentary. It's like some YouTube channel has it's like a 2-3 video documentary of just the entirety of Adam Cole and MJF. Like, no parts are missed at all. I went back and I watched all the episodes. None of it is missed. Baby, it's one of the greatest storylines of all time. It really is. And the fact that AEW fumbled it just does not sit right with me. And just, it gives me that little bit of annoyance with Mr. Tony Khan. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, on WWE side of things, first honorable mention is going to be Rhea versus Liv. I feel like this would have been a great woman's storyline that we haven't had in a minute now, because you had Charlotte versus Rhea, which was good, but they're kind of separate generations. The last time we really had, and then you had Bianca versus Becky, separate generation. You had Rhea versus Becky, separate generations. So you had a lot of these good ones over the past few years that were just separate generations, so they really couldn't grow with each other because a lot of them were on their way out eventually. Rhea and Liv are in their primes, or at least Rhea's entering her prime. You can kind of say she's in her prime though too. This would have been a great storyline to be like akin to a Sasha Charlotte, a Becky Charlotte, a Bayley Charlotte, a whoever else in Charlotte, a Trish Lita, an AJ Lee, Nikki Bella. I cannot believe that has to be the one. An AJ Lee Paige. Like, this would have just been one of those great storylines going forward for like the next 3 to 5 years of just going back and forth with each other, swapping the belts. And I really think had they actually had Rhea and Liv just swapping the belts with each other, like had Rhea lost at SummerSlam and then won at Bad Blood and then lost at, like, let's say Saturday Night's Main Event and then won it back like what was that, would have been like a month later, a month and a half, no, probably like a couple weeks later, won like a couple weeks later. That would have been so great just for them to keep swapping the belts because they're just so evenly matched with each other. Instead, we just made Liv Morgan look so dang weak, and I really did not get it, in my opinion. I felt like we could have just made her look a lot stronger than she actually is. Or, you know, at least just made them look a bit more equal by kind of bringing Rhea down because of the fact that she just doesn't have the intelligence that Liv has, even though she may have the physical ability. And it just would have been a great way to kind of show off that Liv is the super intelligent character. You really didn't do that with her. So, yeah, no, that was definitely a fumble, honorable mention. OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline. It kind of goes the same thing with, like, Rhea and Liv, where you didn't make Solo Sikoa look like a competent enough, you know, tribal chief that I understand the reason why, because he was never supposed to really be a tribal chief, but you could have made him at least look a lot more dangerous, and you really did not. You had him bring in guys that were dangerous, but then once Jacob Fatu got over with the crowd, you're like, never mind, let's just go away from Solo, let's go to Jacob. So, yeah, no, that one was really bad for me. And then the last honorable mention fumble is the Four Horsewomen never having a main roster match. How the hell did we never get that? We never got that at one point in time. We might have had like a tag team between the four of them, but we never got how we got in NXT, which was the four of them at a PLE or at some show in a fatal four-way. I cannot believe we did not get it. And we probably never will get it if Bayley does leave to AEW, and even if Mercedes does go back, because one of them will be gone unless we get Forbidden Door, which I think if Bayley does go, maybe then we could see a Forbidden Door happen, but I'm gonna be real with you, I just don't think it's the most likely of things to happen. But no, the biggest fumble, I spoke about it, I hinted at it earlier with the whole War Games match. Bloodline never having a War Games match with either Hurt Syndicate or Judgment Day. I feel like it was just right there and you did not do it. I don't understand why you didn't do it. I know you didn't have enough members for the Hurt, not Hurt Syndicate, my bad, for the Hurt Business. You could have added somebody new. You could have done what you did with the Brawling Brutes and just kind of add somebody as like a stand-in. You could have done that. Judgment Day, you had at least 4. You could have done 4v4. You could have not had Roman in the match, or you could have had Roman in the match, maybe have somebody else work with the Judgment Day, i.e. a Drew McIntyre. But I'm going to be honest with you, I just really needed a Bloodline versus one of these two groups, because you had Judgment Day and Bloodline looking very, not Judgment Day and Bloodline, you had Judgment Day and Hurt Business looking very dominant on Raw, Bloodline looking very dominant on SmackDown, but they never clashed with each other. Instead, they actually helped each other at one point in time, talking about Judgment Day and Bloodline, not Bloodline and Hurt Business. Sadly, we never even got that. We didn't get any interactions with these two groups, with those two groups, and it really sucks because I feel like you could have either A, solidified Bloodline as the top faction, or B, you could have used Bloodline to put over the Judgment Day and make them look a lot stronger, or at least make them look like a competent enough team to where even though they might lose the match, they're still going to at least look like, they're going to look like at least more or less, not jobbers, because a lot of the members in the group kind of did look like jobbers, if we're going to be real, especially Finn Balor. So yeah, the fact that we never got it, and it's just like, how do you have two top factions and you just don't have the match? It doesn't make sense. Like, we got Bloodline versus Brawling Brutes of all people with Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens. Come on, we did not need that. No. And then we had like Cody and them boys versus Judgment Day. I don't mind it because it didn't make sense, but there just should have been something there. And the fact that we got OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline, but we didn't get the Hurt Business or Judgment Day, it's just such a slap in the face. Like, no, you definitely should have done it, in my opinion. But speaking of opinions, though, let's go ahead and react to ESPN's post-Cena or post-Mania run for Cena and who he would be facing. Let me go ahead and pull this up from Discord. I have the picture right here. Okay, so ESPN projects John Cena's final matches in WWE. Now, the first one was a gimme, John Cena versus Randy Orton at Backlash. That one's already been told to us, so great start there. I don't know what the hell this next match was, but I'm going to be real with you. This just goes downhill from here because the next one is Jey Uso defeats John Cena to retain the World Heavyweight Championship at Money in the Bank in June. Why? Who the hell is asking for that match? Why would we ever get that match? If we get that match into title for title match, or at least it's only a World Heavyweight title match, I'm going to be sick to my stomach. Then the next one is John Cena versus CM Punk at Saturday Night's Main Event. So you're telling me with the entire history of John Cena and CM Punk when it comes to Money in the Bank, you think we wouldn't get them at Money in the Bank? We couldn't get John Cena versus Jey Uso at Saturday Night's Main Event? Yeah, no, that's bad. Then the next one is the one that I reported on, too. John Cena and Travis Scott defeat Cody Rhodes and Bad Bunny at SummerSlam. Buddy, if this is what we're doing at SummerSlam, we're going to go ahead and just SummerSlam this thing closed, but because I'm not watching this. No, that's a horrible main event if that is the main event. Then the next one is Joe Hendry defeats John Cena via DQ at TNA Victory Road in September. I can promise you that John Cena is likely not showing up to no dang TNA show unless he is the face by then, which then I could see him doing it. Next up, though, we have John Cena defeats Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. ESPN, did you not pay attention to last year when they literally said it's going to be champion versus champion? How the hell is John Cena going to fight Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns? There's only two top championship belts unless they bring back the Universal title, which they literally already retired. So how the hell are we going to do that? And then the last one, this is sick. Cody Rhodes dethrones John Cena to become the undisputed champion at Saturday Night's Main Event. Buddy, what? We're not doing that. No. Ew. That sounds disgusting. Now, if we had it at like the rumored Ruthless Aggression PLE, okay, now I could see this. But no, we're not doing that. Now, let me go ahead and give y'all my list, because I think my list is about 10 times better than that ESPN list, or at the very least, 2 times better. So first we would have Cena versus Orton at Backlash. Randy wins via DQ. Now, obviously, we got to run this back, so we're going to have Cena versus Orton at Saturday Night's Main Event in a no-holds-barred match where Cena wins and ties their 1v1 record once again, because right now I think they're 5-5, so if Orton wins at Backlash, they'd be 6-5, and then John Cena wins at Saturday Night's Main Event, they're going to be 6-6, and they'll be able to end their career like that, being tied, because they were two guys that really, were the 1 and 2 of their generation, so it makes sense to at least have them be tied. If not, I guess you could have one guy over the other, but I'd rather have them tied just for record's sake and nostalgia's sake. Now, for the next match we would have at Money in the Bank, it'd be Cena versus Punk. Obviously, Cena's going to be winning this one. Then we would have Cena versus Cody at SummerSlam. Cody wins via DQ. Now, I don't know exactly how this one would go. I'm going to assume that maybe Travis Scott hits Cena here. So that, because if he hits Cody, Cody would get a rematch. But if he hits Cena, Cody wouldn't get a rematch. That's what I'm thinking there. It could happen. I would really like that. Then next up, this one might be just a bit of a faithful one. This will be at Clash in Paris. Cena versus Finn Balor, since Finn Balor is from Europe. Cena would win this one. I think if we're pushing Finn Balor to be a babyface, that we could potentially see this match take place at one Clash in Paris to really give Finn Balor a big moment, because I don't think he ever got to face Cena, at least. I could be wrong on that. But he is one of those, he's one of those guys that came from the Indies, New Japan, that he's one of the top stars that really never gets recognized as one of like the top wrestlers of all time. I think this would be a great way just to kind of remind folk of who Finn Balor actually is. If it's not Finn Balor, though, I could definitely see this being Sheamus because he is also from Europe as well. And that would be a really great match between the two. Obviously, they have a lot of history between each other. If they want to make this a nostalgia run and not a whole, let's have Cena just fight all the guys he never had to fight run, then I could see it being Cena versus Sheamus. Either way, Cena's going to be winning. Now, we have 3 more matches. At Crown Jewel, we're going to be having Cena versus Seth. I think Seth will get the World Heavyweight Championship way before Crown Jewel, and he's going to be holding it, facing off against Cena. I think Seth does win here, and this is what's going to slowly cause John Cena to become a face, because I'm assuming that something is going to happen between him and The Rock to where The Rock is probably going to go too far, a little smacking him around and all of that stuff, and it's really going to get John Cena more and more upset to where we finally do get back that face John Cena, which would lead to John Cena versus The Rock at Survivor Series, where I do think John Cena would go over The Rock here, and then this would be just ushering back to him being a full babyface. And then the last one, if we do get the rumored Ruthless Aggression PLE, I could see it being John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, and Cody would win this going over. He'll finally get his fair 1v1 match against John Cena. I think I made a whole entire TikTok video about this, and I think I talked about it on the podcast as well, that I do see Cody Rhodes getting the belt back from him. If he is going to get it back to, I think it's going to be in a face versus face role, not in a face versus heel. I don't think Cody Rhodes is going to turn heel either. Cody's not turning heel for at least another 4 or 5 years. Doesn't make much sense. I think we could see a bit of a more ruthless side of Cody, but I don't think Cody's going to be turning heel by any means. Now, I'm going to say this, man. Like I said, I don't like to toot my own horn. My list is way better than ESPN list. I can tell you that right now. I don't got to toot my own horn to say that one, man. My list is 10 times better. But at least they got the Backlash match right, though, which it does make sense. Now, I said earlier that I think Backlash is going to be mid. And it already does look like it. We have John Cena versus Randy. It's probably not going to be a good match if John Cena's trying to ruin wrestling. Then we're having Jey Uso versus Logan Paul. Literally nobody asked for this match in the slightest. Nobody wants to see this match. And then we're having Gunther versus Pat McAfee. It's going to be a squash match. Likely introduces Gunther versus Goldberg. Goldberg would come out there. It'll be a whole 10-minute thing. So those are going to be like 3 matches already. We have Lyra versus Becky. The match is going to be absolutely elite. Probably will be a match of the year contender. And then I'm assuming that we're going to have either the WWE Women's Championship match, which would be, WWE Women's Championship match would be either a fatal 4-way of Nia, Tiffany, Jade, Naomi, or Tiffany versus one of those 3. I'm going to assume Nia. And then we could also possibly get Jacob Fatu versus Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre versus LA Knight. Then there's also the fact that we could probably get Roxanne and Julia versus Rhea and Io. That could happen as well. I think they're going to go in the direction of the Women's Championship match, because I think, and I'm not saying that match would be mid by any means, but I think of the 3 matches that I named, that one might not be the best one. I think they're going to put it there because obviously they're going to make Saturday night's main event 10 times better than it ever was going to ever be had Double or Nothing not been airing the exact same day. They already have a really cool graphic card showing up of John Cena, which means we are going to be getting John Cena at Saturday night's main event. Both of these are on May 25th, by the way. And even though WWE is the much bigger platform, they still want to get over as many fans as they possibly can because they know nobody really wants to watch Saturday night's main event. And if it is stacked to the brim with top tier matches, I can see that being the case. I think we might even get Jacob Fatu versus one of the other guys, like a 1v1 match, and then we start building up to Jacob Fatu versus these 3 guys. He goes over to 3 guys, and then we start building up to Jacob versus whoever else is left from the 2, or we get a whole new opponent. We can get Sosa Cole or something like that. I think we'll also be getting John Cena versus Randy, like I said, a rematch at Saturday night's main event. We might even get Seth and Braun versus Roman and Punk at Saturday night's main event. Maybe we get Braun versus Roman at Saturday night's main event. Maybe we get Braun versus Punk there. We're going to be getting some kind of thing there with those guys, though, I'm assuming, because you're not going to leave them off of like 2, well, I guess 1 PLE and then 1 special. You're not going to do all that. And like I said, they are going to make Saturday night's main event as great as they possibly can be because they want to get as many fans from Double or Nothing, from wrestling over to their show and not to Double or Nothing because it's a super big pay-per-view. I'm going to be watching both, man. I'm going to have my iPad open, my phone open. I'm watching both of these things go down, man, because if Saturday night's main event is as great as I think it's going to be, these are going to be 2 shows that you will not want to miss in the slightest. And also, I'm not mad at WWE for doing this, man. WWE's petty. I said Triple H is petty. I understand this completely, and I, as a pretty in the business kind of person would definitely be doing the exact same thing as well. Rappers do this all the time by dropping songs and albums the same day other rappers drop their songs and albums. R&B artists do it. Every music artist does this. I'm not mad at it in the slightest. I think it is a amazing business tactic to do. What I'm going to hate, though, is all the dinguses that are going to be like, hey, guys, look at that. Saturday night's main event sold out, Double or Nothing. This is not even a pay-per-view, a premium live event. This is a dang special. Like, no shit, Sherlock. If we get John Cena versus Randy, everybody's going to be watching that. Especially if it's like a stipulation match, too. So, duh. So, yeah, no, like, that's the only thing I do hate about it. But other than that, I do love it. Now, something I'm a bit indifferent on is one of our last two topics, which is we might be getting some WWE or NXT call-ups coming up to the main roster, one of them being one Mr. Trick Willie. I don't like it, but I think he is going to be going to SmackDown to team up with the one Melo and Miz. That's why they're kind of trying to turn Trick heel. That's why they're doing the whole Hollywood Trick thing. Obviously, Miz is Hollywood as well. Melo would love to be Hollywood. They're going to reform the group for sure. I think it's going to be a thing of like, Trick sees why Melo became the way he is because of him realizing everything after becoming the NXT championship and all, becoming the NXT champion and all that. Like the amount of people that are gunning for you and that everybody wants your spot. Trick's going to see that. So they're going to get back together. We're going to get Trick and Melo Dome Miz, which is actually be a pretty dang cool name. And I think Miz will be like their mentor. This could lead one or two ways. Either A, you turn Melo and Trick face by having them turn on Miz eventually, or B, you have Melo become Miz's guy, and maybe we push Miz to be more of a manager nowadays instead of a wrestler. We could even use like a Mike Mizarian, like actually use his real name. He could be like, and then every wrestler that becomes his guy could be like a Mike Mizarian guy, because eventually Paul Heyman is going to be done. I don't think he could be around much longer. And if anybody's going to take his spot, I think it should be The Miz. He's just as charismatic. He's just as great of a mic worker, in my opinion. He can really draw in the crowd. And I think he does have the presence to be able to be that kind of guy to take the mantle from one Paul Heyman. I would love to see it. And I think WWE should be, trying to find that next Paul Heyman, because when he goes, it's going to leave a big gap in WWE, because you're not going to have the next Paul Heyman guy anymore. So we're like, who is, who is our potential next superstar? Because we usually get told this via Paul Heyman with Brock Lesnar, then Roman Reigns, and now Braun Breaker. We've seen with CM Punk as well. We tried it with Curtis Axel and Cesaro. Didn't work with them, but he was still able to usher in a lot of those new guys. I would love to see them use The Miz the exact same way and be able to, take Miz from the ring to outside the ring and being that manager. And we know that he could play the heck out of a heel, man. The Miz is such an amazing, just all around character worker, mic worker, wrestler, that I would love to see him in that role. And he's still young enough that he could be like an MJF and get in the ring if need, not MJF, MVP if need be. Also, y'all better not be trying to laugh at me for mixing up these damn names with MJF and MVP, because Taz did the exact same thing and said the exact same thing. Too many M's, too many three-letter M names. So yeah, no, it's not just me, man. But another name that looks like they're going to be getting called up, though, is one Cora Jade. Now, I thought that Cora Jade was not going to be going to the main roster, but now there's a lot of rumors that she might be taking Liv's place with Raquel, so they'll have Cora Jade and Raquel being the tag team, and this could potentially, lead to more members in Judgment Day. That's what the reports are saying. I think it's going to be leaning a different way, because I said before that how are you going to have Dom be a face and have Liv Morgan be there, but you're going to have Liv Morgan being a heel? It's not going to work unless you turn Liv face. Maybe it's not the greatest thing to do, but if you're going to make Liv Morgan a face, she doesn't need to be a baby face by any means. She can be very much like Dominic Mysterio, and they can both be very much so like MJF, where they're still faces, but they're very cocky faces. They're very scummy faces. I think you can do the exact same thing with them, and I think this will be a great way to see what you have in Cora Jade. Maybe, you can really evolve Raquel's character. Maybe Raquel could eventually become a women's champion, a women's mid-card champion. We could see a lot more with her. I'm going to be real, though. If we remove Liv and Dom and we're keeping Finn Balor there, we might as well just break this damn group up, man. This group going to look a whole pack of ass, bro. I do not need this version of Judgment Day. If this is what we're going with, just please break the group up, man. Nobody needs to see this. This is disgusting. Ugh. Cora Jade, Raquel, Finn, Carlito, and JD McDonough. Buddy, just call the Good Brothers back so we can get Finn and the Good Brothers. Because hell no, don't nobody want to see this, man. This is the whole pack of nasty. But yeah, nah, I personally don't want to see this. I could see Cora joining or taking the spot of Liv Morgan, because they are kind of, dwindling down their women's tag division, so they still do need some women's tag teams. I think Cora Jade could take the spot of Liv Morgan. I think she would play it pretty well. I think it'd be a great way to get her to the main roster, get her around some veterans so that she could get a lot of experience and be able to see what you do have in Cora Jade if you are deciding to keep her or not. I hate the fact that they broke up the Meta Girls, by the way. It hurts me so much because I better not see Jakara Jackson get released, man. She is really, really good, man. She's growing on me. I don't think she's like, main roster ready, but I think she has, time to be able to grow within NXT. But I think Lash Legend was also so far ahead as well, especially with her development this past year, that you really probably do want to get her up to the main roster because you need some women in those mid-card spots. And I could see Lash Legend going to SmackDown right now and helping out that women's mid-card division severely because, man, does it need the help so bad. Now, there is one more topic that I want to talk about. I got to watch Mike Santana versus Konosuke Takeshita in the House of Glory championship match. Oh, man. I'm so hurt that Mike Santana is on TNA because I just don't watch TNA at all in the slightest. I already told y'all before, as long as Tessa Blanchard there, I ain't going to be watching that at all. But I do love the fact that TNA, like an AEW, allows their wrestlers to be able to go wrestle for other companies, be champions for other companies. And I really would love a world where WWE would do the exact same thing. And like, I know that having the WWE thing on your portfolio, on your resume and all that stuff, it really does just, increase your status that much higher. And I think that WWE also wants to protect a lot of their wrestlers because if they ever need somebody because somebody gets hurt, well, if you have this person, doing stuff for other companies, they're going to be obligated to finish those things. So it's like, how the heck do you, get them and all that stuff? But like, there's so many wrestlers on the roster that's not being used. Like, I would love to see Kaden and Katana be able to go do some things in the indies and stuff like that. See Karrion Kross, see Pete Dunne, see Natty Neidhart, and all these other wrestlers being able to do things in the indies and be able to, also scout out talent for WWE as well. They kind of do it right. Like they kind of did do it this year with Bloodsport and all that, but I would love to see more of it going forward because I think you do have a lot of wrestlers on the roster that you're not using that could benefit from getting some kind of, cult following behind them. Obviously, though, WWE also has a thing of like, we like to build up the guys, say who the next one is, not them getting it on their own. We're not so mad if they do, but we really want to be able to, control everything and all that. Whereas AEW, TNA, New Japan, Ring of Honor, all these other companies, they allow the wrestler to kind of grow. And if you become a superstar, they're going to put you in superstar roles. So I do understand why WWE doesn't fully do it, but I would love for WWE to kind of get out of that mindset and really just allow wrestlers to become superstars on their own, or at the very least, just allow them to go out there and wrestle. Even if they're not winning championships, just allow them to go out there and wrestle and get some kind of following behind them. So I ain't got to see, folk walking out to the ring and ain't nobody cheering on this person at all, man, because it'd be sad as hell. But that's going to be it for me, though, y'all. Definitely hope y'all did enjoy this episode. As always, if you did, drop a like, subscribe, and notification bells for more. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the liking, the following, the rating, all that great stuff definitely does help the channel out. I hope that I was able to keep eye contact with the right part on YouTube. I really, really hope I was. This is like the third or fourth time of me trying to record this and trying to keep eye contact. I do usually look around from time to time. So yeah. But I'm hoping that I was able to look at this part right here the entire time. It's such a weird thing to look at, but it does keep me from looking at my dang face all the time because even though I do be looking good, I don't need to be staring at myself like this the entire time because that would just look really stupid. And obviously my eyes aren't focused on y'all. They're focused on the side of y'all or focused on your mama behind y'all telling y'all to go to bed because it's late and you shouldn't listen to this podcast so dang late because you got school the next day. Or, you shouldn't just be up. Or maybe it's like your girl just peering over the corner of you and be like, baby, I said we need to go to bed, so let's go to bed. Come on, we're going to sleep now. But I definitely hope y'all did enjoy the episode regardless, man. We should be getting a new camera very soon, so I'll be able to, be much more coordinated in the future. Y'all have a great one, though, y'all. I'm out. Peace, everybody. day and good night. Pew pew.